by its unusual to decipher.
Hello? Horrified is a fully cooperative board game which takes the Universal Studios monsters Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, and the creature from the Black Lagoon and propels them at you like a 10-ton bullet train as you try to fight them off with an array of very quirky characters at your disposal. Throughout the game, players will be taking on powerful and memorable character roles such as the little boy who delivers things, the thoughtful professor, Nancy Drew, Lara Croft, half nun, half scientist, female Professor X, and the wise archaeologist. Each of the 7 characters that players can choose from has specific abilities that helps the group in some way, whether it be having additional actions, moving other characters or villagers around the board, or even increasing the strength of the items that are used. To win the game, players will have to band together to banish all of the monsters that are threatening the town. However, there is one teeny tiny little caveat, a hurdle that makes defeating these monsters a little bit more tougher than normal. Across each game, players will be facing up to 3 to 4 monsters per game, each of which requires players to complete some sort of puzzle or condition in order to kill the monster. These mini monster puzzles simply raise the stakes, pun intended, and difficulty factor by 10. For example, Dracula requires players to use red items to smash his 4 coffins which are located in different places around the game map before killing him using yellow items. The Mummy requires players to gather and spend yellow clues to solve a number puzzle. Like a warped Shakespearean play, players have to use blue and yellow items to improve Frankenstein and his bride's humanity to ultimately stop them from eloping. The creature from the Black Lagoon has players spending different coloured items to move around a map in order to find its secret lair. The Wolfman has players acquiring different valued blue items to help find a cure in order to vanquish the Wolfman permanently. Finally, the Invisible Man has players collecting evidence of his existence by matching clues they've found to their location. Playing against 2 to 3 different types of monsters per game makes this game feel unique, puzzly, and intense. The game has taken these memorable characters and transformed them using some very interesting game mechanics. Horrified is like a good old-fashioned horror story. It takes all those monsters and combines them into a cohesive gaming experience. Now, settle into your lounge chair, listen to the crackling of the embers on the fireplace as I tell you guys a story. But beware, what you may hear next will utterly terrify you. On a spooky night, 1 to 5 players banded together to play a cooperative board game. Each player took on one of the 7 available roles, and on their turn each player could either move down along the eerie path around this yet-to-be-named town. Let's call it Horrorwood for now. For another action, players can pick up any items from their space, or if they wish, share items if they're in the same space as another character. Each player could use their special action because it's these actions that defines their character. They could also try to defeat a monster by solving its puzzle. Now, a horror story isn't a horror story without victims, or lambs I like to call them. These lambs, also known as villagers, wander aimlessly around the town attempting to reach their destination. For an action, players can help guide these lambs to their destination for a small reward. Now, a good horror story isn't a story without its threats, and boy, does this story get juicy. Do you mind? I'm trying to tell a story here, but it's just so darn juicy. Throughout the game, players are constantly being chased by monsters. At the end of each player's turn, a monster card is revealed, which indicates how many item clues are placed out on the map. It also triggers any events, and also indicates which monsters on this particular turn move towards the heroes and villagers. And if a monster moves into the same space as a hero or villager, it attacks that hero or villager. All villagers and characters have a health value of 1, so if a monster moves into a villager or character space and attacks them, this attack is primarily resolved by rolling these black dice. If a star symbol is rolled, the attack is successful, and a player will need to discard an item from their stash for each star symbol that is rolled against them. If an exclamation mark symbol is rolled, it means that the negative unwinding effect of a monster's ability is applied to their monster puzzle board. This might mean flipping scarab tokens face down or moving the boat back away from the black creature lagoon's lair. If a player or villager is hit by a monster and they have no items in their possession, then those characters die. Think of it as if you're swatting a fly, and the board game is the fly swatter. Each time a character or a villager dies, the terror marker goes up 1 level. Now, there are some pretty crazy things that can happen to players. A hero might get singed with the wolf's hunted emblem, or even be cursed with the mummy's soul sign. It could be that the villagers are cannon fodder and get devoured by monsters if they're not protected by the other players. The monster deck might force the frenzied monster, the one that features this torch symbol, to move more quickly and attack more frequently. Battling monsters in Horrified is insane, as players can't actually kill the monsters that are chasing after them. They can only run away, avoid, and defend themselves by discarding items from their stash. Collecting items from around the board is so treacherous because you're trying to avoid the path of the monsters that are barraging towards you, as well as trying to pick up the right combination of items to help defeat the monsters overall. There is some light at the end of the tunnel, however. Players who help villagers get to their destination will be rewarded with a perk card, which provides players with extra beneficial effects or bonuses that they can use to help them in their plight against defeating these monsters for good. Horrified is an excellent game of cat and mouse, as players well and truly need to work together to communicate well about how they're going to avoid and overcome the board game's threats. It's a game of picking up and delivering items with the aim of beating the clock and avoiding those monsters. The beauty in this dark looking game is in its simplicity. Move items to where they should go and avoid getting hit. The map is also just large enough for you to be able to breathe through, so you can put away that brown paper bag. Pathways on the game board often feel constricted with its circular center and branched pathways that often lead to multiple dead ends. It's a maze of treachery and peril. With options that are often quite straightforward, it's actually the overarching decision making that the group has to endure that drives the flavour and brings people to the table and to this game time and time again. What I really love about cooperative games is the fact that the game is designed to throw multiple layers of threats at you. It's like you're trying to wade through mud, trying to get to your destination with all these things that are kind of holding you back. This monster deck in particular is massively threatening. The fact that sometimes an event might appear that relates to an active monster that's currently on the map, but giving them some sort of special ability or advantage in the game is really going to push your game back. The fact that players can't actually defeat a monster in the traditional sense using battle dice means that in this game, players can simply only evade and run away and negate some of the bad effects that the monsters throw at them. To add further threat to the game, the fact that one of the monsters is actually a frenzied monster means that monster is going to move at a slightly faster tempo than all of the other monsters on the actual game map itself. If you thought that was pretty threatening, each time one of the villagers or one of your players dies, the threat level on the terror track goes up, and if it ever reaches the end, the game is over for all the players. But I think the biggest threat of all in this game isn't the monsters itself. In fact, it is the luck of the dice roll. Because every time you roll one of these hit symbols, players are going to lose an item. If you roll an exclamation mark symbol, that undoes some of the work that you spent trying to solve one of the puzzles that relates to one of the monsters that you're trying to defeat. These dice will literally single-handedly undo all the work that you've done. And that, I think, is the biggest threat of all. Fans of the board game Pandemic will recognize many similarities between Pandemic and Horrified. The Terror track is quite similar to the Outbreak track in the original game of Pandemic. And also, each character in this game has special abilities and they can have a certain number of actions they can use to execute those abilities. Yet this game feels vastly different from Pandemic because of the way it gets players to manage those threats. It uses dice combat, it uses puzzles, and I feel that the combination of different puzzles that the monsters provide from game to game intertwine and interlock in a very different way. I would, however, like to see a bit more variation in the types of puzzles that the monsters might have in the future if they release an expansion, and I think the puzzly element of those monsters is what really draws me to the game apart from its theme. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you this dire warning. The next joke that you're about to see is incredibly horrific. Alright everybody, that's a wrap. Oh, don't mind me. Overall, Horrified feels like an awesome 80s themed board game brimming and dripping with theme. Its simple rule set, yet great scalability in its difficulty level, means that it's going to appeal to experienced gamers and new gamers alike. The monster puzzles that are featured inside this game are an absolute treat. Thank you once again for joining me for another Board Game Sanctuary video. If you really like this video, please remember to claw at the subscribe, like and share button. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you to all the people who are currently subscribed to my channel, and I hope to bring you some high quality board game reviews in the near future. This is Danny signing out. Peace!